All right. Okay, what's up? What's up, YouTube? And we are back. So, taking a little break from YouTube, you'll notice a gap in the episodes. That's because I've just been recording on Facebook Live, but definitely thought about things. I was like, okay, it definitely makes sense to record back on YouTube to see all of them again. So that's what I'm going to be doing again. Now, today we're going to be chatting about the fear of poverty. So this whole week and possibly even extend it into next week, we're going to be talking about the six main ghosts of fear. And I want to chat about the first ghost that's on the list, and this is the fear of poverty. Now, now we're gonna just chat. I'm not gonna read it word for word, but I'm gonna bring up some key points that Napoleon Hill makes about this fear that I found really fascinating. So, in this section, it's titled The Fear of Poverty. He says, there can be no compromise between poverty and riches. He says, the two roads that lead to poverty and riches travel in opposite directions. If you want riches, you must refuse to accept any circumstance that leads toward poverty. And what do we mean by riches? We're talking about the broadest sense of riches, meaning financial, spiritual, mental, and material estates. Okay, now he says the starting point of the path that leads to riches is desire. In chapter 2, you receive full instruction for the proper use of desire. In this chapter on fear, you have complete instructions for preparing your mind to make practical use of desire. Very interesting. Now, now, furthermore, we're chatting about. He says, if after reading this chapter you are willing to accept poverty, you may as well make up your mind to receive poverty. This is one decision you cannot avoid. Now, if you demand riches, determine what form and how much will be required to satisfy you. Right? We just talked about the philosophy. We talked about 13 weeks on thinking you're rich. And he says, you now know the road that leads to riches. You have been given a roadmap, which, if followed, will keep you on that road. But if you neglect to make the start or stop before you arrive, no one will be to blame but you. This responsibility is yours. No alibi will save you from accepting the responsibility if you now fail or refuse to demand riches of life, because the acceptance calls for but one thing, incidentally, the only thing you can control, and that is what is the one thing that you can control? All right. He says, no fewer than 100 times has the secret been revealed on these pages. And that thing that you can control is a state of mind, right? A state of mind is something that one assumes. It cannot be purchased, it must be created. Now, let me pause there. This is a side note, but I was reading this one book. It was called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And in this book, I found it fascinating. We really dive deep into what is the state of mind, what factors can we shift right now to control our state of mind, what is holding us in a limiting state of mind, and what would expand our state of mind to be in an empowering one. So that's something I definitely plan on chatting about further down the road. But I found this really fascinating. So right, remember what I said, no fewer than 100 times has a secret been revealed on these pages. What is the secret? What is the underlying theme in Think and Grow Rich that you can find in almost every single one of the chapters? And we're talking about states of mind. What we're doing is we're following a roadmap. We've been given a roadmap to essentially create this specific state of mind that Napoleon Hill is referring to as money consciousness, so that we get what it is that we want. Now, why do I say money consciousness? Well, whatever you want is going to have a cost. It's most likely going to cost money in some aspects. It may not, the whole price of what you want may not be money, but you're definitely going to need money in some aspects. So that's why we're calling it a money consciousness. But keep this in mind. This is really fascinating stuff that what we're saying right now, right? We do have control over our fears. Now, furthermore, he says fear of poverty is a state of mind, nothing else, but it is sufficient to destroy one's chances of achievement in any undertaking, a truth which became painfully evident during the Depression. Okay, now this fear paralyzes the faculty of reason, destroys the faculty of imagination, kills off self reliance, undermines enthusiasm, discourages initiative, leads to uncertainty of purpose, encourages procrastination, wipes out enthusiasm, and makes self control an impossibility. It takes the charm from one's personality, destroys the possibility of accurate thinking, diverts concentration of effort, it masters persistence, turns the willpower into nothingness, destroys ambition, beclouds the memory, and invites failure in every conceivable form. It kills love and assassinates the finer emotions of the heart, discourages friendship, and invites disaster in 100 forms, leads to sleeplessness, misery, and unhappiness. And all this despite the obvious truth that we live in a world of overabundance of everything the heart could desire, with nothing standing between us and our desires, excepting a lack of definite purpose. Holy cow. That was some paragraph. Now I want to pause real quick and really break that down. Now, now we talked about what this fear paralyzed, and I was curious what word may have stuck out for you, right? Because remember, this book, it's all individualized. What really hit me may not necessarily affect you. But I noticed that the fear of poverty, right? He said it kills love and assassinates the finer emotions of the heart. Now, me being fearful of poverty has definitely uh, affected me in many ways. So, so what am I going to do about this fear so that I do experience the greater emotions in life, and that I really do live my life to the fullest? Right now, I won't say exactly what it is, but that was what stuck out to me just from this fear alone. So what is this fear costing me, and how much am I willing to put up with it until I'm like, no, I need to change right here, right now. Now, this is another sentence that I found really fascinating at the very end. He said, and all this despite the obvious truth that we live in a world of overabundance of everything the heart could desire, with nothing standing between us and our desires, accepting a lack of definite purpose. What does that mean? What is the only thing standing between us? And is it even a thing, or is it a lack of something? Why is a lack of a definite major purpose the only thing standing in between us and our desires? Now, this is really fascinating. All these fears that we're talking about, remember, he calls them the six ghosts of fears. Why does he call them that? Because they're not real, but they may as well feel real because of how powerful they are, how much they control some of our lives, right? And now we're here to really build out and really break that idea that, hey, man, that sentence I just said that they control our lives is actually false, and we can control our lives simply by following the roadmap laid out in front of us. Now, he says the fear of poverty is without a doubt the most destructive of the six basic fears. It has been placed at the head of the list because it is the most difficult to master. Considerable courage is required to state the truth about the origin of this fear, and still greater courage to accept the truth after it has been stated. Okay, so now we're going to be chatting. Where does the fear of poverty really stem from? right? Where does it come from? Now he says the fear of poverty grew out of man's inherent tendency to prey upon his fellow men economically. Okay, now I'm not going to read this from the book, but this is what I understood. Just a brief summary of the summary, right? From an animalistic standpoint, right? Animals, they dominate the animal kingdom simply by eating one another, killing one another, right? Getting to the top of the kingdom. Now, how do men do it, right? Even women, we do it nowadays not by killing one another, not by physical violence, but economically, right? There's all the scammers out there, all the people trying to take other people's money just to get ahead financially, right? That's where this fear comes from. Now, Now, let me keep reading this. He says, of all the ages of the world, of which we know anything, the age in which we live seems to be one that is outstanding because of man's money madness. A man is considered less than the dust of earth unless he can display a fat bank account. But if he has money, never mind how he acquired it, he is a king or a big shot. He is above the law. He rules in politics. He dominates in business, and the whole world about him bows in respect when he passes. Nothing brings man so much suffering and humility as poverty. Only those who have experienced poverty understand the full meaning of this. Okay. Now, for some people, this might be hitting deep, right? I never, I've experienced poverty in the sense of a mindset and being poor in college, but, I understand there's definitely people that felt, this to a much deeper level than I ever felt. And it really does make you feel less than others when you don't have money. So, so what's the best way to get through this fear? Well, I'm gonna keep reading, and because this is a self analysis, just to acknowledge, okay, do I have this fear, and what can I do about it, right? So I'll leave that question up for the end. Let me keep reading right now. He says, "It is no wonder that man fears poverty. Through a long line of inherited experiences, man has learned for sure that some men cannot be trusted where matters of money and earthly possessions are concerned. This is a rather stinging indictment, the worst part of it being that it is true. The majority of marriages are motivated by the wealth possessed by one or both of the contracting parties. It is no wonder, therefore, that the divorce courts are busy." Okay, furthermore, I'm just going to read some highlighted parts at this point. He says, self analysis may disclose weaknesses which one does not like to acknowledge. All right, why is this book so cool? Because it also serves not only as a roadmap with the principles, but it helps you evaluate, okay, where am I at right now? Where are you? Where am I at right now? Where do I want to go? What is the gap between there? And what is it going to take for me to get from where I'm at to where I want to be? Right? What is it going to take? First of all, I can answer that saying it's just going to take a shift in thinking. Thinking grow rich, right? Okay. Furthermore, this form of examination is essential to all who demand of life more than mediocrity and poverty. Remember, as you check yourself point by point, that you are both the court and the jury, the prosecuting attorney and the attorney for the defense, and that you are the plaintiff and the defendant. Also, that you are on trial. Face the facts squarely, ask yourself definite questions, and demand direct replies. When the examination is over, you will know more about yourself. If you do not feel that you have been an impartial judge, you can call upon someone who knows you well to serve you as a judge while you cross examine yourself. Keep this in mind. You are after the truth. Get it no matter at what cost, even though it may temporarily embarrass you. Okay. This is possibly, I think, the biggest idea you can take right here. Truthfully, I am personally after the truth because they say the truth will set you free, and I want that feeling of freedom. I want that real feeling of freedom like never before. I want more of what I want, less of what I don't. But that freedom, right? And what's going to give you freedom? Well, it's the truth. If you understand where you really are, if you really examine yourself and get to understand yourself better, I can tell you from my personal experience, just from understanding myself better, 1/10 of 1% each day, right? It's giving me new levels of freedom that I never would have considered beforehand. But now I expect them because I'm continuously looking at myself, reevaluating my life. But I found this so fascinating. Let me read it again. She says, "You are after the truth. Get it no matter at what cost, even though it may temporarily embarrass you." All right. Most people, if they were asked what they fear most, would reply, "I fear nothing." The reply would be inaccurate because few people realize that they are bound, handicapped, whipped spiritually and physically through some form of fear. So subtle and deeply seated is the emotion of fear that one may go through life burdened with it, never recognizing its presence. Only a courageous analysis will disclose the presence of this universal enemy. When you begin such an analysis, search deeply into your character. Here is a list of the symptoms for which you should look. Okay, so I'm going to read through the symptoms of the fear of poverty, and we're going to pause there. Okay, so the symptoms of the fear of poverty. 1, indifference. So this is commonly expressed through lack of ambition, willingness to tolerate poverty, acceptance of whatever compensation life may offer without protest, mental and physical laziness, lack of initiative, imagination, enthusiasm, and self control. So that was indifference. 2, indecision, the habit of permitting others to do one's thinking, staying on the fence. Personally, this hits home for me. This means I have a symptom of the lack of poverty because there are certain things that I have not made a definite decision on and stuck with. So where are you at with indecision? Do you occur with this? What do you think the root of that cause is? Right? Are you permitting others to do your thinking for you? 3 is doubt, generally expressed through alibis and excuses designed to cover up, explain away, or apologize for one's failures, sometimes expressed in the form of envy of those who are successful or by criticizing them. Understand, too, remember we went back that indecision leads to doubt, which leads to worry and fear. Now, I find it interesting that the next symptom is worry, right? It all started at a root of indecision. Now we talked about doubt. Now we're on worry. Usually, this is expressed by finding fault with others, a tendency to spend beyond one's income, neglect of personal appearance, scolding and frowning, intemperance in the use of alcoholic drink, sometimes through the use of narcotics, nervousness, lack of poise, self consciousness, and lack of self reliance. So that was worry. Okay, next, overcaution. This is the habit of looking for the negative side of every circumstance, thinking and talking of possible failure instead of concentrating upon the means of succeeding, knowing all the roads to disaster but never searching for the plans to avoid failure, waiting for the right time to begin putting ideas and plans into action until the waiting becomes a permanent habit, remembering those who have failed and forgotten and forgetting those who have succeeded. Seeing the hole in the donut, but overlooking the donut. This is pessimism leading to indigestion, poor elimination, auto intoxication, bad breath, and bad disposition. All right, so overcaution. What are the symptoms of overcaution? Well, the main one is looking for the negative in every situation, right? Focusing on what could go wrong rather than what could go right, right? Have you experienced something where you focus more so on the downfalls of an opportunity, or did you focus on what was good about the opportunity? Next, procrastination. This is the habit of putting off until tomorrow that which should have been done last year, spending enough time in creating alibis and excuses to have done the job. This symptom is closely related to overcaution, doubt, and worry. Refusal to accept responsibility when it can be avoided. Willingness to compromise rather than put up a stiff fight. Compromising with difficulties instead of harnessing and using them as a stepping stone to advancement. Bargaining with life for a penny instead of demanding prosperity, opulence, riches, contentment, and happiness. Planning what to do if and when overtaken by failure instead of burning all bridges and making retreat impossible. Holy cow. So he recommends the idea of going all in and burning all possibilities. That's interesting because me personally, I've always had a backup plan. And I thought I was thinking right doing that, but that's interesting that he brings this up too. The idea of going all in on something, burning all other options, giving yourself no choice but to succeed. Okay, furthermore, on procrastination, weakness of and often total lack of self confidence, definiteness of purpose, self control, initiative, enthusiasm, ambition, thrift, and sound reasoning ability, expecting poverty instead of demanding riches, association with those who accept poverty instead of seeking the company of those who demand and receive riches. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So that was the fear of poverty. Now we're going to take a pause there. I'm going to finish up this fear tomorrow. But let me know if you are experiencing any of those symptoms, and you may be experiencing many of those symptoms, right? All of these symptoms, right? What is a symptom? Is a symptom something that comes after the fear or before the fear, right? A symptom is something that comes after. First of all, the fear is the state of mind, and the symptom is is something that's coming after. So rooted in our subconscious mind, what does that fear of poverty look like to you? Right? Where is it located? It's in the subconscious mind. It's neuroencoded in the body. Now, multiple symptoms that we touched, I thought were really fascinating. Indecision, doubt, worry, which leads to overcaution and procrastination, right? They're all closely tied to one another. But the thing is, it's that indecision, that fear of poverty that causes us to not make a decision. And that's when the monster is small. Now, as the monster begins to grow, that indecision turns into doubt, right? It's a medium size. That doubt turns into worry, right? So a much larger size. That worry translates back into fears, and then it becomes a cycle of fear. It was fear of poverty that caused this monster to grow, and it is now more fear that is continuing it to grow. So let me know, what you learn about the fear of poverty today. What are some things that this has really held you back, right? For me, uh, spending money, man, I used to be really cheap, and I had the excuse that I was a broke college kid, but man, it has let me down in many, many ways. And and I gotta be like, I refuse to accept having this fear of poverty anymore, right? How long am I willing to take this pain, right? I'm not comfortable where I'm at, but how long am I willing? Am I willing to make a change right now that I'm done letting this fear linger in my subconscious mind, and I'm going to really make a stop to it. I'm going to have a definite major purpose, and I'm not going to let the fear of poverty get in the way. So those are my final thoughts, right? Remember, me and you, we got a common enemy. It's not Ukraine, it's not Russia, it's not this race, that race, this gender, that gender. It's not this political party, that political party, right? Me and you, we are battling the common enemy of fear. Fear and doubt, right? We're in this together, and understand that it the enemies of fear we got to outwit. So those are my final thoughts. Thank you all for watching. Now I'll leave you with this until we meet again in time and space. See ya, everybody.